In 2023, I sampled over 100 fragrances. It was hard work, y'all, but somebody had to do it. 75 of those made their way into fragrance testing videos. I do this monthly. I talked about the fragrances, which ones I liked, which ones I fucking hated. They all made it in there. In today's video, we're going to talk about the 10 that left really positive impressions on me because they were absolutely incredible. Now, I do not buy into the hype that niche fragrances are king and are the best things on the market, giving us all we need. I love a celebrity and a designer fragrance as well. So these niche fragrances that I tested needed to win me over because I was not sold off rip. And these 10 absolutely did. So yeah, I tested a shit ton and most of them were not full bottle worthy. Is that the nice way to say it? But some of them were. So let's get into the ones that I absolutely loved and maybe you will love too. So let's get into it. You don't know what you're doing to me. Let me know how you feel. Make it time for you. Hi, I'm Jeanique and I love to blind buy a fragrance, but I don't do that with niche ones, not with those price tags, and not when they love coming out of left field and doing strange shit in those bottles. I'm not for it. I really am not. And I went into last year really wanting to test out fragrances I'd heard a lot about and wanting to try them to see what they gave. And most of the time they gave mid at really exorbitant prices, and so it let me off the hook and got them out of my system essentially. But there are 10 that are still in the back of my mind, me wanting them because they left such a positive impression on me when I tried them. So in today's video, we have 3 categories to talk through. We have approachable and versatile fragrances. We have elegant and sophisticated shit. We also have really exciting, nuanced fragrances that are a little bit more unusual. And we have one MVP among the bunch to talk about. So if that sounds like your thing, you love a perfume conversation, you agree with me that the propaganda that niche fragrances are necessarily better is a lie, and that all fragrances are an opportunity to, have a good time, then subscribe to me because that is the vibe over here. You're gonna see all kinds of videos, Arabian fragrances, celebrity fragrances, cheap shit, expensive shit. We do them all here, and if you like that kind of thing, subscribe, but also stick around. We're about to get into some stuff, some mess. Now let's get started. Let me know how you feel. Make it time for ya. If it's real. I stay wanting to smell expensive as fuck, and some of these niche fragrances pretend like they can give that to us. And I was on a hunt last year to find really refined fragrances that would rock my whole world, and I had a whole dedicated video really focused on elegance and sophistication. So that's one of the categories and the one we're going to start with. There were 3 fragrances that made me feel like I could cosplay as old money because they were giving rich bitch energy every single time I wore them, and they blew me away. The first one was Ormonde's Levant. Now, I had tried a few fragrances from Ormonde, and for me they'd been okay, but nothing that really struck a chord with me. This is a really elegant, lovely fragrance that doesn't scream or shout. It is incredibly subtle, but beautiful nonetheless. It is a very classic take on white florals. I think it's orange blossom with some soft citrus notes, like I think Tangelo is in here, really sort of adding to that citrusiness. There's something about it that's similar to Devotion from Dolce & Gabbana, that new release, except it isn't as sweet and it isn't as buttery. There's something more restrained about this and a little bit more classic about how it presents itself. I fell in love with Guerlain's Beluga hard while I was testing fragrances for my Elegance and Sophistication video. It is this beautiful, beautiful mix of vanilla, a little bit of honey, tobacco, leather, suede, coming together with some florals in the background, just giving unisex and powerful and beautiful, and giving what Guerlain knows how to give. Just really refined beauty. And this fragrance, I did not expect it to be as lovely as it is. This fragrance feels well considered and well blended. Even the notes here, how they show up, the kind of suede, the kind of leather, how clean they are. The Immortelle that gives us those hints of honey, that hint of tobacco. Also strip away some of the dirtiness of some of those notes and come together with the vanilla to create something really lovely and accessible. Finally, we have to talk about MFK's Grand Soir in the Elegance and Sophistication category. Now, this is the most unisex of the bunch. I would say this is a really robust, full, beautiful, heavy vanilla meets amber fragrance that is in some ways kind of subtle. It isn't super sweet or super spicy, but it brings together all of these lovely notes to create something that feels really balanced and really grown. I really loved this one and I was surprised. I thought I was gonna love it for guys. I wasn't expecting to love it on myself, but I found this fragrance to be really warm and inviting, really subtle in a lot of ways. That vanilla wasn't too sweet, and all of that labdanum and the amber together helped to create this really resinous and heavy and dark fragrance that was also very easy to wear. This felt like a fragrance you could wear to the office on a high-powered day. You could also wear it on a date night, just rocking a cute outfit and giving everything that needs to be gave, and giving this sort of more unisex scent that I think is really, really sexy. So speaking of full bottles, I did pick up full bottles last year when I tested fragrances and fell in love. I just want to flag those for you because they are noticeably missing from this video, even though I've talked about loving these fragrances so much. So first up is Maison Crivelli's Lise Solberg, a really wonderful mix of florals, dates, a really jammy, dark, dried fruits, as well as there is some tobacco in here. There's some green notes in here like patchouli just really coming through and cutting through. Really unusual fragrance that mixes together florals, uber sweetness, and all of these darkening notes like the tobacco and the woods. It is fantastic. I think it's an incredibly sexy fragrance, but it is not for everybody. I get that. The next one I picked up was Xerjoff's Dolce Amalfi. This really bright fragrance that feels like you are on an Italian vacation. You're sitting outside. There are lemon trees. It is tart. It is citrus. It is full. It is fucking beautiful. And the moment I tried this, I could not get enough. There's also this unusual sort of spicy dimension to this fragrance, adding to the complexity and making it feel like a very special and different vacation that you are on, having the best time of your life. I've also talked a lot about Montale's Intense Cafe, a fragrance that I tested very, very early in the year and fell in love with. This is a vanilla latte with some rose, not so much coffee, and some warm spices like cinnamon. Just really creamy and perfect for winter. Loved all three of these, and you might see that they're missing from this video, not because I didn't love them, but because I've already bought them. Let's get into these unusual, unique fragrances that I fell in love with. The first one was Zoologist Cow. I did not know what to expect, but I did know I wasn't going to be that excited about a fragrance called Cow, but I decided to try it anyway. And it was not at all what I thought it would be, but once I started to smell it, it started to make sense. Now, Zoologist as a house kind of scares me because it's strange, right? But I do appreciate their sort of novel approach to fragrance making, and Cow is no exception to that. Now, I haven't loved everything I've tried from Zoologist. There were a few fails last year, but this one was absolutely a win. Now, Cow is essentially milky green tea with sugar in it. That's literally it. The milk is like 2% milk. It's not very heavy. It's not very creamy. There's something very watery about it, maybe even a little salty. You sort of sense the milkiness in the background of the fragrance. And then over top of it is a mix of herbal greenness and cut grass greenness together in the fragrance. Now, as it develops, the sort of tea greenness comes through more, a little bit warmer, a little bit more herbal, a little more earthy, and not so sharply green and citrusy as we get in the opening. And then there is a sweetness to this fragrance that feels sort of flat and straightforward, like sugar being added into something. Very simple on the one hand, but feels very exciting as you are wearing it, because I didn't think to myself, I want to smell like milky green tea with sugar in it. But once I did, I got really excited, y'all, and I absolutely love this one. Also, the bottles are so cute. I love them. Now, I normally hate oud and incense, especially together. I find them a little claustrophobic, a little overwhelming. Then you run into fragrances like Liwa from Widian, and you're like, oh, when it's done right, it is spectacular. And in this fragrance, it is spectacular. fucking tacular. So what is it? It is a mix of aromatics like saffron. There's Artemisia in here. There are florals like rose in here. There are citrus notes like bergamot coming through, being tart and fresh in the opening. We have smokier notes like the incense and the vetiver in here, all coming together to create a fragrance that's a little bit confusing, right? Like you try it and you're like, what is happening? What am I smelling? This is so odd, but this is so fire. The fragrance smells incredibly complex, layered, nuanced, and just really, really beautiful. One thing I know is that Maison Crivelli fragrances are always incredibly surprising. Even if I hate the fragrances, and there are fragrances from the line that I tested that I could not stand, looking at you, Boratchai, enemies, right? They never come with anything that I'm sort of like, it's whatever. They always make a statement. They always set a standard in my mind. And I'm not surprised that one of the fragrances I picked up, of all the fragrances I picked up last year, was from them. And Amber Chromatic struck a chord with me. Now, there's a part of me that thinks, is this really for you, Jeanique? Are you this type of bitch? And I'm not sure, but this fragrance is really interesting. And the notes don't serve it justice at all, because you won't get none from the notes from what this fragrance is like. Now picture it. You are in the jungle, right? And it is wet. And you're smelling the air and the dirt and the moistness. There is moss around you. There are trees. There are animals. It feels dense and heavy and a little bit green. It is fire. And as the fragrance develops, you end up, you're in the desert somewhere, right? It is dry. It is a little bit sweet, a little bit salty. It is a lot crisper as it is going along. And then we end up in this place that feels like you're at a dance party. People are wearing maybe 2 sweet fragrances and the bodies are close together and it feels really sweaty and claustrophobic and all the things are happening. And all of that at the same time in this bottle, right? It is weird. It is strange. It is an experience. It takes you through and you don't know where you're going to end up. This fragrance is weird and I love it. Or do I? I don't know. It is a strange roller coaster of a fragrance and I did find it incredibly exciting. Hold up, wait, you're enjoying the video, right? I'm giving, right? Subscribe. How hard is it? Don't be stingy with the subscribing. I would appreciate that, y'all. Now, I don't know if you want to look at niche for versatile and approachable when you're paying racks to get a lot of these fragrances, but I did explore some wonderful, really versatile, really like everyday fragrances in the niche world that I think are worth a conversation. The first one has to be, for me, Vilhelm's Mango Skin, which I fell in love with hard and immediately because it does bring together tropical smells, greenness, and a little bit of orris to help lighten the fragrance and make you feel really airy. Just a beautiful fragrance if you love a greener touch in a fragrance. Now, this is the whole mango. We have mango flesh, really tropical, sweet, fleshy, lovely, as well as the skin itself, cutting green, maybe even a little citrusy. It is beautiful. It has some icing sugar to sweeten the pot. There is some patchouli in here doing some work, y'all, and it has orris that helps to lighten everything. Now, this fragrance isn't incredibly popular. I think it has like a 3.8, maybe less rating on Fragrantica as people shit on it because they really aren't feeling that greenness in this fragrance, because it is very clearly marketed to women, in my opinion. Based on how this fragrance is structured, I don't think it's unisex at all. Is a very feminine fragrance, but that greenness can be challenging for a lot of women, and I understand that, but I still loved this one. Now, this is a perfect fragrance for summer. It smells like the outdoors. It smells like the tropics being outdoors, and I could not get enough of this one. Now, it comes at a hefty price tag, but that bottle makes it almost worth it. But it is a lovely one if you love a green sweet fragrance with a little bit of floral to boot. One of my absolute favorite fragrances from the year, not just niche fragrances, just generally speaking, was Kayali's Yum Pistachio Gelato. Now, I know the gourmand girlies were not happy with this one, but I was fucking thrilled. The moment I tried this last February, or so when it came out. I fell in love hard. I subsequently picked up a travel size of this fragrance that made me love it even more. A beautiful meeting of gourmands with florals together at the same time, with this nice bold citrus in the opening. It is unexpected as well, I think partly because I think the name doesn't really capture what this fragrance is giving. It's not quite yum pistachio gelato, maybe sorbetto with hints of citrus. I don't know, but this fragrance is a beautiful one. It brings together in the opening this really fresh and bright bergamot. We have some white florals in the mid helping to boost the fragrance, make it more dynamic, versatile. It's really floral, it's really beautiful, and in the base we get some of that creaminess coming through, that nuttiness coming through to make this fragrance more complex. So Tiziana Terenzi's Cassiopeia really struck me because in a lot of ways it's a pretty traditional fragrance that is easy to get into, but it has these surprising elements that made the ride of wearing the fragrance even more interesting. So usually when you just open up a fragrance that is going to be citrus and florals, maybe with some gourmand notes, you expect that brightness and freshness to come through first and the sweetness to follow. Now with this fragrance, you open it up and it is a blast of sweetness, candied and lovely, coming through right at the opening. Then you get a rush of these florals that come through later that help to make this fragrance feel bigger and more grown and a little sexy, sultry even. And then at the back of this fragrance you get a little bit of that citrusy goodness to make things feel a little bit clean. It's like a palate cleanse, right? You've gone through all of these really complicated notes and then we land in a place that feels fresh and airy. I don't know how they pull that off, but the way this fragrance is constructed is so novel and such a fun ride. And you start off really fun and exciting. It's like the roller coaster of a night out, right? You start off with all the energy, all the sweetness, all the, woohoos of the night. And by the time the night is ending off, you just want a glass of water and you want to take a shower and go to bed. You just want freshness at the end of the night. And that is the ride this fragrance takes us on. And I really do appreciate it. The best fragrance that I tested in 2023, hands down, has to be Initio Psychedelic Love. There was nothing that came close for offering the kind of experience this fragrance did. It took me on a ride that I did not want to get off of, and I did not know where I was going. Didn't mind it at all. This fragrance is incredibly sexy and the notes don't tell the story of what you are getting, because they say to us it's jasmine and myrrh, sandalwood, and there's rose, I think, ylang ylang, bergamot, heliotrope, all of the things, and it sounds like it's going to be this soft florally fragrance that is going to maybe have a little bit of an extra zhuzh, something a little different with the myrrh, those warm spices, and instead it's something that is hard to explain. It's hard to describe. There's something that is cold feeling about this fragrance, right? But it's also very sweet as well. It feels unisex, but it's sweet. And the sandalwood in here feels drier than you might expect. It is doing heavy lifting. The sandalwood feels heavy rather than really feminine and soft and creamy, and all that is coming together with all of these florals that are fighting one another and nobody is winning, but they all smell great together. This fragrance feels big and exciting and full, and it is hard to describe. So if you can get a chance to test this out and see if it's your vibe, you should definitely do so, because it is just, I want to say stunning, but stunning doesn't even capture it. I feel like I belong on the back of a bike pack when I'm wearing Psychedelic Love. It feels like a fucking acid trip, but better because perfume. Look at me lusting after ridiculously expensive fragrances. Love that for me. I'm in here doing it anyway. I've also shit talked a few. I will link my most recent niche perfume samples review video for you to check out if you want to see more. If you are on a budget, like I am on a budget, month over month. I will also link my most recent Arabian fragrance faves video for more affordable options, because I'm a giver. Also, my collection is all over the place in terms of price points. We need options out here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you've subscribed already at some point in this video, because I was giving, right? Again, I'm Jeanique, a lover of niche fragrances. Not so much, but I try to get into them and bring y'all the tea. As somebody whose pockets are on a budget, I will be, discerning. And if you enjoy that sort of thing, come back for the next one. I will see you then. Bye, y'all.
But you just can't get enough. ain't yet enough. Do for